All right, today we're really going to get into it. We are doing a deep dive into the history of noise music.
It's a huge topic. We're looking at over 100 years of, well, antagonism.
Right, antagonism. We're
Yeah.
tracing at all the key figures, the tech, and that core rebellious streak that never seems to go away.
And I think we need to define our terms right at the start, because when you say noise music, a lot of people just think of, random sound.
Yeah, just static or banging.
Exactly. But the source material is very clear. This is an expressive field that deliberately rejects traditional musical language. So melody, harmony, rhythm, it pushes all that aside.
So what does it prioritize instead?
It's all about texture, physical shock, and pure auditory stimulation. The real theme, the thread through its whole history, is this idea of rebellion and destruction.
Okay, a rebellion against music itself and society.
Love, absolutely.
So let's unpack that. Where did this idea, this concept, even begin?
Well, you have to go back to the 1910s, the machine age. All of a sudden, cities sound completely different. You've got factories, traffic, this constant hum.
The soundscape just totally changed.
It totally changed, and that's where Luigi Russolo comes in. In 1913, he writes this essay, The Art of Noises.
And he basically argues that the traditional orchestra is, what, boring?
Kind of. He says it's sonically impoverished compared to the modern city. He was the first to really conceptualize using these mechanical environmental sounds as the new aesthetic.
So he has the idea.
Yeah.
But an idea is one thing. How do you actually make music out of a train whistle or a factory press?
That's the next big leap. And it doesn't happen until after World War II with magnetic tape.
Ah, musique concrete.
Precisely. Pierre Schaeffer, 1948. The breakthrough was realizing the recorder wasn't just for, documenting a performance. It was an instrument itself.
So you could, what, chop up the sound?
You could chop it up, play it backward, loop it, splice different things together. The sound itself became the raw material, totally detached from its original source.
Yeah. And that idea of just like tearing sound apart seems crucial. It feels like that sets the stage for what came next in rock music.
It does. Which brings us, of course, to Lou Reed.
Metal Machine Music,
Yeah.
1975.
Right. It's just guitar feedback and simple effects. But it was a massive statement. It basically said that this abrasive, harsh texture wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate choice.
And from that choice, a whole movement started to bubble up from the underground.
Yeah. By the late 70s, you get this concept of industrial music, thanks to bands like Throbbing Gristle.
How is that different from just, loud guitar feedback?
It was driven by this really deep anti-commercial feeling, a certain bleakness. They weren't just distorting sounds, they were embracing sonic destruction in a very literal way.
You mean like with actual jump?
Literally. Think about Einstürzende Neubauten's album Collapse. They used industrial percussion, power tools, scrap metal. It was the sound of actual physical decay.
That sounds really intense. Very local. But the 80s took this global ride.
Oh, absolutely. The DIY cassette culture of the 80s was everything. It created this international network.
And that's where things get even more extreme, I guess.
You get subgenres like power electronics in the UK with bands like White House just pushing volume and distortion to the absolute limit. And crucially, you get the explosion of Japan noise. Merzbow is the icon, yeah.
Oh.
An album like Pulse Demon is just these incredible dense walls of sound built from overloaded amps, static distortion pedals.
So we've gone from tape loops and scrap metal to these massive walls of noise. When computers enter the picture, did that feel like a betrayal of that raw analog feeling?
You would think so, but the source notes it was more of a rapid progression. The tools changed, but the goal, that textural shock, it stayed the same.
So digital tools just offered a new way to get there.
A completely new way. Things like granular synthesis, which lets you break sound into these tiny little packets you can manipulate. And now you see that same impulse in Eurorack modular synths, or with people doing live coding with Maxim SP.
So when you boil it all down, what's the one thing that connects 100 years of this? It seems to be this constant challenge to what we think sounds good.
That's it. It's a perpetual informed resistance. The real essence is just listening. Listening to the sound itself without the comfort of melody or rhythm.
Which leaves us a pretty interesting thought. If Russolo's original goal was to bring in the sounds of urban machines, then what about the sounds of our modern digital lives? Where do things like data errors, network static, or just the sound of a compressed, glitchy file? Where does that fit into this artistic rebellion?
Is the sound of a glitch the new sound of the factory? That's definitely something for you to think about next time your audio cuts out.